G'day guys, here we are again looking at Ecclesiastes, and I invite you to join with me. We're about halfway through the book, looking at chapter 6, and there's a bit of a summary here, I think, of some of the themes that we've seen already. In fact, we may move through the second half of the book a little bit more quickly as he recaps and ties together some ideas that we've already seen and introduces some new ones. But here at the end of chapter 6, it's really a fairly dark final section to this first half of the book. The analysis is not particularly happy or positive or hopeful. Let's read from verse 7. Everyone's toil is for their mouth, yet their appetite is never satisfied. What advantage have the wise over fools? What do the poor gain by knowing how to conduct themselves before others? Better what the eye sees than the roving of the appetite. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. So he challenges the ideas of our appetites that are always wanting more. We're always wanting satisfaction, whether it's food or other things. We just aren't satisfied with what we've got. And he says, look, it's meaningless. It's a chasing after the wind. We're never going to be satisfied. That's not how things will be. Verse 10, whatever exists has already been named, and what humanity is has been known. No one can contend with someone who is stronger. The more the words, the less the meaning, and how does that profit anyone? And then hear these questions. For who knows what is good for a person in life during the few and meaningless days that they pass through like a shadow? Who can tell them what will happen under the sun after they are gone? Two questions, friends, to finish chapter 6. Who knows what is good for a person in life? What's life about? What should you focus on? What matters truly matter? And who knows what's going to happen next? Who knows what will take place when you're gone? You're here for a while, you're like an actor on the stage, you do your performance, and then you leave. And others come onto the stage. And what does it all mean? It's frustrating. It's meaningless. It's a chasing after the wind. And so often it's a grievous evil. Why is this world so messed up? Why does this world not seem to make any sense? Why do things that get done get undone? Why is there a worldwide pandemic? Why are people dying in their tens of thousands? Why are there people suffering? Why are there so many children aborted? Why are there... See, we could go on and just look at the horrors of our world, here and everywhere, and ask the question, why are things the way that they are? Well, I want to move out of Ecclesiastes and just give us a bit of a glimpse as to why it is that this world is in the mess that it's in. And it has to do with how we've treated God. In Romans, in the New Testament, the book of Romans by Paul, Paul gives us some explanation as to why things are the way that they are. It says that we should all know about God because the creation points to the fact that there is a creator. It says in Romans 1 verse 20, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, that is his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. You look at the world, it points to God. We should recognize that there is a God. God has placed eternity into our hearts. We should be trying to understand what we can about this God. But do we? No. Verse 21, for although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him. But their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal human beings and birds and animals and reptiles. So the big problem with this world, as the Bible reveals, is that instead of honouring God as our creator, we push him aside. Instead of treating God as God, we treat other things as God. Instead of worshipping the one who made us, we worship ourselves and the things that we make. And because of this, we've come under the judgment of God. And there's an interesting way that this judgment is described in the here and now. Yes, there'll be a judgment to come, but at this present time, our world is groaning because it's under judgment. Let me read to you from Romans 8, And I'll read from verse 18. Paul writes that he considers that his present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. For the creation was subjected to frustration, not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the freedom and the glory of the children of God. God has subjected this world to frustration. God has brought this world in our contemporary experience under his judgment. Now, I'm not saying that if something bad happens to a person, that is God's direct, immediate, cause, effect, judgment on them for what they have done. No. But when you look at this world, when you look at disease, when you look at tsunamis, when you look at the COVID pandemic, when you look at the problem with climate change, with the locust plagues in Africa, with hailstorms destroying, with hurricanes, when you look at all of this, you see a picture of a world that has been subjected to frustration. And speaking of the world in kind of personified terms, he says, we know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. You know what the pains of childbirth anticipate? That's right, they anticipate the birth of a child. And it says that our world is actually groaning as in the pains of childbirth. It's anticipating something. Of course, it's metaphor, but it's a picture of our world looking forward to things being put right. Our world being subjected to frustration for a time until God will restore all things, and he will do that, first of all, by making people right with himself. And he has done that through the death and the resurrection of the Lord Jesus. And having made people right with himself, having invited people back into relationship with him, his promise is that one day he will restore this creation, so that no longer will this world be experiencing, no longer will we experience this world as meaningless, as a chasing after the wind, because God will restore things, and what he will put in place will last and be right for all eternity. We can know that. The resurrection of Jesus is God's proof that these things will come about. What do you make of Jesus? What do you make of his resurrection? Have you taken the time to explore that question? If not, please let me encourage you to focus on the resurrection of Jesus. If it didn't happen, we can forget it. Eat, drink, be merry, make the most of life. But if it did, then perhaps it might be the very key to understanding what life is all about. Thank you.